Now we will continue with the Six-Day War. It's important to point out the difference between the Six-Day War and the War of Independence in the Gisha of the Gedolei Yisrael, how they saw it. It in a different, in total different way that they saw the War of Independence. The War of Independence was more seen by Gedolei Yisrael as a big chesed, Nisim bin Aflois, that Hashem did chesed with us to save us, to give us a place to live. And that's a whole, we just focused last time more on the Nisim part. We spoke about a little bit about the chesed Hashem did. He made it to give over, the Yidden should have a place to be able to give over the Torah. Everything was through Nisim, but they look at it more as it was Nisim for the existence of Klal Yisrael. When it came to the Six-Day War, we see a total different approach by the Gedolei Yisrael I'm familiar with. And to put it in short, I would say over a little bit from the previous, what I was saying over in the previous share from Michal Tzukaczynski, that he writes over there. We spoke about how much the from what the tsaris that we went through from the Second World War, from the Shoya until the founding of the state, which many Gedolim pointed out. There was a Zalman, a Wrestler, and many others. That's what we said over from him. That was Nisim, and that's we have to understand the Chesed Hashem. But he adds something very, very important. He says that even though we were Zeiche to the founding of the state, to have place for Klal Yisrael to exist, and tremendous Chesed, there's something still very, very precious to us that we're missing. And that something is the Kaisel. That something is Ma'aras Machpelah. That something is Kever Rachel. These were all places that they didn't have during the founding of the state. Actually, when there was a story when Michal was leaving, he lived in the old city, and the old city they surrendered in Jordan during the founding of the state. On the way out, he met up with one of the Svardish Gedolim, Rabbi Yitzchak Alfaya. He was a Chacham, a Makubal, and they were walking out together after they surrendered, and they started crying. And Michal Mechel's son asked him, "Why are you crying?" And he said, "Because Yerushalayim," they both started crying. And he said, the two Goyinim, he said, "Because Yerushalayim shel Maila is mechuvim keneged Yerushalayim shel Mata." And this that we're going out, it must be that Hashem's going out also from up there. And he writes over there, in that sefer that I was quoting before, that we weren't Zeiche to the three most major things Klal Yisrael has: the Beis Hamikdash, the Makam Hamikdash, and the Makam Kivrei Avos, V'Yimois. And he says the reason for that is because there's a guf and there's an neshama of Klal Yisrael. He says right now, after the Second World War, we were zeicha to the Geulas Haguf. Gashmis was redeemed to a certain extent, obviously, but our neshama is still in Galus. He says when we'll get those places, as Hashem, it'll be a whole different thing. And he says, and he brings down the Chazal that that with he says that this is considered Galus HaShechina, and he said that when we'll come back to Yerushalayim, that the Shechina is going to come back with us, and that's the Chazal. The Chazal say that Lo Ovel Yerushalayim Shalmata El Shamayla when Yidden come back to Yerushalayim Shalmata. So he understood that as long as Yidden don't have a Yerushalayim, the Shechina is not going to be there either. And with the Yidden coming back, to Yerushalayim, the Shekhinah will return. And if you look at the way they expressed, the Gedolim expressed the 6-day war, it sounds like we're talking about something to a whole different dimension, a whole different madrega of Nisim, a whole different madrega of Asheras Hashchina we see from all the Gedolei Yisrael in that time. So we'll start off with a letter that the Vizhnitzer Rebbe, the Imre Chaim Hager, writes to his nephew. He's in that time after the 6th War. Anachnim Kulani Milayim Gil were all filled with excitement, chedva v'haidah, happiness and thanks to Hashem Yisbarach on all his roiv chazdov and nefloisav and his many chasadim and neflois chitz miderech hateva, which is done out of derech hateva. What he did with us, he says, he says everyone is streaming to the Kaisel Amaravi, crying, happy. He says, I was there with singing and dancing, and actually when he was there, he actually fainted from so much structures, so much motion. He fainted when he came to the Kaisel, and had to wake him up and pour water on him. And he says, we're dancing and singing, and same thing by Kever Rachel, same thing by Arsan of Pela. And he goes on, he says, the main thing is you should realize that we shouldn't come to say, Koicheni Imasa Yedeni. The Slonim Rebbe, the Sivas Shalom, after he writes in a letter, also after the 6th War, he says, I understand that you all were with us. I guess it's the word Chitzlar. It's you were all with us in our pain and our panic before the war. And I'm sure you all saw the Yeshias Hashem, and you heard of the Yeshias Hashem and the Nisim and the Floys that happened to us. He says, our minds can't digest, we can't understand the tremendous Nisim Geluyim that we were Zeiche to see, which many generations weren't Zeiche, many Dairis weren't Zeiche to get to. And he says that he gave us back to the Makam HaMikdash. We got back to Makam HaMikdash, Kos HaMaravi, and the Kivra Ovis of Emois. And I have no question that you were all part of our excitement. And he goes on, Barichas Gadol, and other places about this also. He says, yeah, and the Chernobyl Rebbe and the Square Rebbe, there's a letter, there's Shlomo Greenbaum, he's writing that he was by the Square Rebbe, Rabbi Yaakov Yosef Twersky, and he said that he got a letter from Nachum Twersky, the Chernobyl Rebbe, that there were major Nisim Gedolim. He says, I have no Menuchas Adas as long as the Yidden in Russia are still in pain. The Biyala Rebbe, Rishu Irchil Yashir Rabinowitz, Chalkas Yashir, he told his Talmidim, his Chasidim, that when you make the bracha of Oize Yisrael, if you do it in the morning, you have to strength Yidden with gave us strength. You should have a mind. Gives us strength. You should have a mind to thank Hashem on the strength He gave the Yidden in the 6th War to conquer all those places they conquered. And in the Siddur of the Chalkas Yeshua of his Chasidim, it was written there that you should have that in mind. Thank Hashem all the Nisim what He did to us. The Tzanzer Rebbe wrote with the Shliach to the Sarah Batachon. He wrote that everyone is very excited, everyone's besimcha, and we're all be'achtes. This is what brought the Moedig Yeshua, and especially with the old city. And the Rebbe, he writes over there, is giving you a bracha that Hashem should be together with us until the last, with all the soldiers until the last fight. And the Lubavitcher Rebbe writes, Vayah Yisrael Siyad HaGdoila, Asher Osa Hashem b'Mitzrayim, he said it was Niskayim now in this time. And he Moser Rabbim B'Yad Ma'atim, he gave a lot of people into the hands of a little bit, just like we find Chanukah, because they went to Mesiris Nefesh to help out the Yidden in a time of trouble. And now it's time, just like Chanukah, it's time to sing Lahodos Lahalal Shimcha Agadol, and expresses that it was a Nesmer Shemayim from Kedusha. He says that's included in Tekava Shofar Gadol. And the Ozer Rebbe and the Kapishnitzer Rebbe and the Amshin Rebbe, they all expressed their gratitude and thanks and the spilus and everything that was going on. The Lulav Rebbe, Moshe Binyamin, before the war actually happened, he was complaining, what's taking them so long to go out and fight them? They should go out, the faster they go, the faster the war is going to end. And he says it's going to come to time, and the war is going to end off with that there's going to be Nisim, just like there was in the times of Mitzrayim. The Zviller Rebbe spoke about all the Nisim. She spoke about how we can be kafet toiva for all the Nisim Hashem showed us. The Nisim gluyim and the flois gedolos the inei amim from all the nations in the whole world. We have to thank Hashem for all that and understand that it's not in our power. Richard Mai Levine spoke by Goodness Yisrael, by one of the convention in that year, and he says, I don't understand those that say that when the Second World War happened, that was because we did our various, it was Yad Hashem. When it comes to the Yiddish, to the Yeshua of the Yidden, that was a Ma'aseh Satan. He said, Chas v'shalom, to say that when it comes to bad, that's the Eibishter is doing. When it comes to good, that's not the Eibishter is doing. Of course, everything is Chesed Hashem with Nisim and Flois, and that he was the shliach to speak over there by the convention from the Geri Rebbe, his shver. The Yosef Shlomo Kahaneman, the Panovich Rov, he was actually in Chutz La'aretz at the time of the war, and he writes them a letter. I'm with you with thanks and to Hashem on all the chasadim gedolim with the flois shehifli lasas amoni that he did with us. We're hearing the footsteps of Mashiach Tzidkenu from this war, from the Yeshua. Another time we wrote that how could we should be embarrassed of the smallness of how silly how small we are and how little we could comprehend all the neflois and the nisim Hashem did for us. As even a blind person can understand this, we should feel small from this. Even a blind person could feel the nisim with his hands. He says that our generation was zeichet to so much nisim geluyim, open nisim, so much. He says it's no other way to explain it that this is hachana gedola and me'en chazar koliyis. It's hachana gedola to the kras geula hashlema, that they're giving us to feel. Hashem is giving us to feel a little bit from the nisim what's going to happen in the future. And a letter to Rabbi Cheskel Levenstein writes in a letter, he says that there was so much nisim guluyim, such open nisim that Hashem showed us, that even the biggest piker are all screaming the nisim. The nisim was seen to everyone, and he says, I think that these are the nisim where it says in the Navi Yeshaya that the Hashem is going to make nisim and he's going to make the midbar jump, grow, and Hashem's going to come upon us slowly, little bit by little. Now we're starting to see those nisim of the Asad Lovit. He says another time he expanded on the topic of, you see, the Ramchal speaks about that in the times of the Geula. The Chazal says it come a Dosh Kila Chayev. How's that going to be? What is this all about? He says that because what happens if we don't do tshuva? Hashem is not going to wait for us. There's such a thing called Midas Yichid. Hashem is not going to there's midah from Schava Einish, and there's a midah Sayichid. Hashem is not going to, if it comes the time for Mashiach, Hashem is not going to wait for us to do tshuva. As Ishtit and Ramchal. And he says, Zukta B'chesed Levenstein, that this is what we saw today, that in the 6-day war, there was no tshuva before that. At least there was not enough tshuva before that. And Hashem anyways did with us such major nisim and inflois. And how is that possible in such a generation that we didn't do tshuva? He says, this is only midas hayichud that Hashem is showing us that when the time comes, He'll take us out, and we should take a chizuk for this, for the geula shlema, even if we're not ready to get a geula through of what we were holding. And there were times that he said during this period that we should say, it says that he said that from the time of B'tzis Tzrayim there were never such nisim. He said this, and he said that just like you have to say the B'tzis Tzrayim twice a day, so too we should mention the nisim of the 6-day war. Ibn Cheskel Sana writes in one place, he wrote his Talmud, Baruch Hashem al Chazdei Gadol, thank you Hashem al grace of Chesed that we were zeichet to see the Yeshuas and the Chomis, and it was in the sky to us, the pasuk Ki Mitzeischem in Eretz Mitzrayim Eren on the flies, like the days of going out of Mitzrayim, I'll show you wonders. And he says another place he wrote down from him that after the 6th war he was very, very merugish, very overwhelmed with emotion from all the nisim that happened, and he held that this is the first nisim of what's to come in the Asad Lavit. And Ram Yafim, the Rashiv von Navardik, writes in one place that we saw in this war on every step of the way Gilish Shchina Vashgocha Protis. And Chaim Shalevit says that if a Novi would be here, he expands on the idea of that. Chazal say that about Oz Yasher, it says that the pasuk says Noch and Kesachem Oz, Hashem's seat, Hashem's throne was established. It was from Oz. Oz is Oz Yasher. In times of the Ness of Kriyas Yamsef, he says that if it would be a Navi today, he would say also Nachan Kesachem Me'oz, that from that the Hashem's kingdom in this world, from his throne, was established. The whole world saw the Nisim, what he did for the Yidden, and they all came to see Yad Hashem, he's with the Yidden. And Rebbe Cheskel Abramsky said, and the pasuk Ashrecha Yisrael Micha Moicha Am Noisha B'Hashem, he said over what we said in the previous year, that really we are a nation which is helped by Hashem. But why does He make us a win through a war? That all the nations should give us honor. And the list goes on. And Moshe Feinstein in Drash Moshe in Parshas Devarim, I think he writes over there that Hashem made tremendous nisim that the small little army won many Arab armies, and they had much more ammunition, and in a few short days they won them all. And through this we are hoping for Mashiach to come. And the River of Ephraim brings down, I heard from Moshe Feinstein, that anyone that's chas v'shalom that moed in this, that Hashem's hand was the one is koifer after he's in this. He says there was a lot of Elach Yidden and Elohim the Torah who for them was roy to come for. Yeah, and there's a lot more to talk about the wave of Baal Tshuvas, what happened through this war. Shach actually founded the organization of, what is it? Arachim actually started off with an organization. Before that, it was called El HaMakoros. And Yosef Valas writes, he was from the head of the organization Arachim. He says this organization was founded by Reb Shach because he saw all the Baal Tshuva that came out through the 6-Day War. But there's a lot more to talk about. For now, we will stop with this. And just to appreciate the Nisim and the flows that Hashem does to us through wars, which is a Gili Shechina through in front of the whole world, that Hashem is with us. Hashem doesn't do such Nisim for no reason, and He's there. Hashem is changed the Anhaga, what He was doing with us in Golus until now, and now He has a new Anhaga, the way He's treating Klal Yisrael. This is, yes, we go through hardships, but as we hopefully we'll see in the future, and as we've seen in the past, that all the hardships have turned in from lemons to lemonade, and everything always brought the tremendous Yeshua. All the wars in Eretz Yisrael brought tremendous Yeshuas, and may Hashem continue being with us in the Kanz Klal Yisrael.